This is Global Tel-Link. You have a prepaid call from
Free.
an inmate at the Salinas Valley State Prison, Soledad, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Free.
How you doing, Rudy?
I'm hanging in there. It's kind of raining today, so looking forward to when the rain stops.
Yeah. Well, blessings to you and Aaron. I wanted to go into some issues here, unless you've got something first right on your mind that's needs to be said right away.
The only thing I'll say is I did communicate with Miss Armitage and Mr. Massat yesterday and made sure they are aware of the latest status of your situation as you told it to me. So that's the only thing I have to say to you.
And no response back from them yet on that status?
No, they just were inquiring they were very worried about you and concerned about you. I wasn't really expecting a response back other than they just wanted to know what was going on.
Well, actually, the response I was wondering is if they're going to destroy that property, I mean, I'm all open arms welcoming anybody that can help save it by helping to pay for shipping of it out of here. I don't know yet what they're going to do with it.
Okay, well,
if we find out.
Gotcha. Miss Armitage already said that she was willing to help out with that. And I don't know, what her specifics are, but I would assume, do you have ability to communicate with her directly or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I got a letter from her yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with any of these things we're talking about, but it was written probably before this new event began. So
okay.
I'll get back. I'll get with her. But yeah, I was wondering more specifically if she's aware of how much it might cost, if that's completely prohibitive, if that's out of the question, because somebody might be thinking, well, it's just a small amount of postage, but we're talking about potentially a huge amount of money. What to me is a huge amount of money anyway to ship big boxes of stuff out of here. But I don't know yet what's going to happen, so I'll find out as soon as I can. I want to let you know I did get a second copy from your Florida associate of that same page with the three of us on the one side and the I like the little cartoon of the critter being swallowed up and having his hand choking out the neck.
Oh, right. I call that the never give up frog.
Yeah, never give up. Never give up what?
The never give up frog.
What's the very last word you're saying?
Frog like hop hop. Ribbit, frog.
Oh, yeah, frog.
Yeah.
Okay, never give up frog. Yeah, exactly. And I've seen that before, but it's been a long time since I've seen it, so it was a good refresher to see it again. Anyway, I got the second one of those, which I believe was postmarked on the 30th of October. So the first one did get delayed a little bit longer than the second one, but as I've said before, sometimes the mail here is, weeks before we get something after it arrives to the mailroom here, but usually it's been pretty good, about anywhere from a few days to a week and sometimes a week and a half, and then occasionally we get the oddball situation of a lot longer than that. I wanted to talk about, of course, with the elections we have, I know about the Democrats winning back the majority of the House, and I know the Republicans had maintained the majority in the Senate and all that, but that doesn't have a lot to do with affecting me in any direct way. It may have some indirect effects, and it may even be more favorable to me because Democrats are more favorable toward prisoners generally than are the Republicans. But my problem is, and I think we mentioned this before, is that there's a dilemma that I'm in that most prisoners are not, because I get a problem from both sides, is that Republicans want to be tough on crime, just like everybody wanted to be, and now is maybe backing up a little bit, but still generally most people want to appear tough on crime. And the Democrats want to be liberal, more liberal anyway on crime, but yet I'm an exception because of self-defense shooting with a gun. So I don't get the normal supportiveness that they get as an innocent prisoner or whatever they would call it. They just want to run from somebody that's used a gun in self-defense, even though it was legal. So anyway, that's my problem. But what I wanted to get at is there are some people in the California system that I would like to ask supporters out there to contact on my behalf. Everybody's already well aware of my unique situation. There's not another prisoner in the history of California, let alone current times or recent times, that has been kept as long as me for having the type of circumstance that I have. And those circumstances, and I'll recap again, are totally free crime history, never been involved in any kind of crime in my life, not even a jaywalking ticket. Was an upstanding member of the community. I've always been a man of peace. 2 judges have said now that this was a genuine self-defense shooting case, and all those things combined, my behavior in prison has been excellent, even though they've written me a lot of false rule violation reports. But those false rule violation reports have never been anything. The very worst has only been about 4 in 36 years accusing me of fighting. And even in those, they all acknowledged nobody got hurt. It was just, it was far less. I mean, like 100 times less damage than 2 people in a boxing match that they get paid $10 or $20 million or $100 million for doing in front of the public. So, there's no basis to have me in here compared to everybody else. And that's the issue, is compared to everybody else, senators need to be woken up about this. Assemblymen in California, assemblymen and women need to be awakened about this fact. So I'm looking at a couple in particular. One is, I mentioned the other day, Jackie Speier, who I believe is a senator. I believe she's a U.S. senator, but if not a California senator, I believe she still is. And she's got a very interesting and colorful background in jumping into the fire on certain things that, are very, very unusual and very gutsy. So she may surprise us and may be willing to get behind this if she sees it as a great injustice, even though she's quite left-wing liberal and, they don't like gun use. The other one is another very left-wing in a lot of ways, Democrat, and that's the man that got elected fairly recently. And when I say that, I mean the last year or two, as a senator, and that is the man who, Jimmy Panetta. He's the son of Panetta, who used to be the head of the CIA. And
this call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Used to have some kind of high position in the White House. I forgot what now. But anyway, Panetta recently wrote me on something that I didn't even write to him about specifically, or at least I don't remember, but I was trying to get a Constitution book for years from the state assembly, which has an obligation to give us one, and they were just ignoring me like I was blacklisted maybe. And Panetta, out of the blue, sent me 4 little Constitution books, and I've got a letter sitting on my desk. I'm trying to get time to type up right now, thanking him for that. And his letter that he sent me with them was very, very kind, very professional, very understanding. It just seemed like he was a really good, solid guy. I don't want to, look at, just because somebody's a Democrat, I don't want to look at them and say, well, they're no good because they're so far on the left. And I don't want to look at Republicans and say they're no good because they're so far on the right. And I'm neither right nor left. I don't believe in that stuff for me. But, I want to look at each one as an individual. And if I've seen that they've done something really right for somebody, then I want to approach those people. So I'm asking people to approach Jimmy Panetta about my situation. Very soon I'll be writing him myself about my situation. And Jackie Speier. Speier, I think it is. So I'd like to get the ball rolling with those 2 as starters, and then we'll maybe branch out into some others. But they may refer us to whoever my representative is. I don't know yet if Ana Caballero was re-elected to office or not, but she has not been honest with us at all. And she's been not even competent at all about knowing what she should know in her position as, I think she's been assemblywoman.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
So if they send me back to her, that's not going to be good. Apparently I'm under her jurisdiction in terms of her geographical location, but she she doesn't follow through. She doesn't do what she says she'll do. So I don't like working with people like that at all. I want to move into another subject, and that is I'd like to see if anybody out there can give us some feedback and input on if there's any way. I think I started on this in a previous conversation, but I don't think we came to a conclusion on it. If there is any oversight agency for corrupt judges, I'm not talking about, we can't second guess their corrupt judgments on things, but I'm talking about where judges have done something really bad. For example, a judge that was doing real bad sexual abuse of his secretary, raping her for years by coercion and force, and then was involved in my case, and I tried to get him off my case and raise that fact that he was involved in that and didn't want him on my case because of that moral breach, and he denied everything, and I'm still in prison because he procedurally barred me and everything. So there's one. Another one is a second federal judge pulled a really outrageous scam, and I may have mentioned this before. I filed my petition for habeas corpus. There are exceptions to the what's called the AEDPA statute passed by Bill Clinton, which took away our right to do habeas corpus a second time in the federal court. However, you can do it a second time if you have found new evidence and it shows your actual innocence. So I had about, 18 or 25 pages on exactly that, showing that, proving that I couldn't have gotten this information earlier, couldn't have gotten to it because of CDC's obstructions, and couldn't have gotten it filed in the court because even when I did get the information, they repeatedly seized it, destroyed it. I proved all that, and then I showed how it shows my actual innocence by showing that I was framed by the DA's team and my defense attorney and such, the thing we were talking about on our last several phone calls on the 3552 proof. Instead of doing what he's supposed to do and act on the exception that I had met and hear my petition, he issued an order stating that I didn't raise any of that. And there were about probably 25 pages or so and a whole bunch of exhibits on exactly that. So I filed back with him what's called a Rule 60B motion under Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure or Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, I forgot which, and showed him that FRCP Rule 60B motion is a proper thing to raise when a judge makes that type of error. And he sent me back again saying, now you've just raised again, you come at us with another habeas corpus petition, which it wasn't. It was a Rule 60B motion. And so he used this crazy circular logic to lock me up in a catch-22, so I couldn't get anywhere with that. So I appealed it to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal, second biggest court in the land next to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they rubber-stamped exactly what that judge, who was Ronald M. White, I think it's W-H-Y-T-E, but it might be W-H-I-T-E, what Judge Ronald White does, which was an actual scam, and it was a crime, what he did. It wasn't part of his judicial function to go outside the rule of law and play a little game to deny me and procedurally bar me from being heard in the court. So I want to know, is there any oversight agency, like, can we go to the FBI with that? Can we go to some other federal agency? Who oversees that, or does nobody oversee it? And I have the same question with the governor in the state of California doing something that's, do we have any recourse whatsoever to any oversight agency to them doing something that's either criminal or extremely scandalous? Because I don't know of an agency in either one of those cases over the federal judges or over the California governor. And we do have in California for the state judges, we have what's called Commission on Judicial Performance, which is exactly...
You have 60 seconds remaining.
To oversee corrupt things that judges do. Now, they're all part of the game. They'll rubber stamp most anything, but at least they're there. At least they exist. And what I want to know is if anybody can tell me if there exists such an agency for the federal judges, which I don't know of, if there is, and also for the state governor's office.
Well, looks like, Amen.
Rudy, let me add just one more.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
And any senators or assembly men or women that are behaving scandalously as well. If there's some kind of oversight to them. Now you go ahead.
I pray that people are listening and take action. And I want to back up what you said about all these politicians. They want to appear tough on crime, but they don't realize that we have a lot of people that have been over-sentenced and innocent people in prison. And so on cases like yours, it always falls through the cracks. I agree with you on that because you were self-defense and they want to stay away from you.
Right. And we're going to get cut off right now.